नमस्ते दोस्तों, हेलो एवरीवन, दिस इज़ डॉक्टर मिहिर शाह और आपका स्वागत है हमारे एजुकेशन चैनल पर, जहां हम सबसे डिफ़िकल्ट टॉपिक्स को बनाते हैं सबसे सिंपल। आज के इस वीडियो में हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं एक वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक फ्रॉम इनडायरेक्ट टैक्सेशन सब्जेक्ट, जिसे हम बोलते हैं कॉम्पोजिशन लेवी अंडर जीएसटी। तो जीएसटी में कॉम्पोजिशन स्कीम क्या होता है, उसको बिजनेस में ऑप्ट कौन कर सकता है और उसको किस तरह प्रॉब्लम सब में सॉल्व किया जा सकता है, ऑल दैट विल बी डिस्कस इन दिस वीडियो। सो इस वीडियो में हम लोग बेसिकली सीखेंगे मीनिंग ऑफ कॉम्पोजिशन लेवी, स्मॉल इंट्रोडक्शन एंड एलिजिबिलिटी एंड टू प्रॉब्लम सम विच आर यूनिवर्सिटी रिलेटेड क्वेश्चंस। ओके, सो अगेन ये टॉपिक TYBAF सेम 5 स्टूडेंट्स के लिए एग्जाम पॉइंट के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, तो ये वीडियो एंड तक ज़रूर देखना। और हाँ, अगर आपको ये वीडियो पसंद आए तो लाइक करो, शेयर करो एंड सब्सक्राइब करना। तो चलिए, लेट अस स्टार्ट। What is composition levy? Okay, in the most simplest manner.
Okay, we'll first go through the small meaning of what is composition levy. The composition levy scheme is a very simple, hassle-free compliance scheme for small taxpayers. It is voluntary and optional scheme. So it is not based on those who want to opt for this. Okay, so it's not a compulsory, it's voluntary. It is basically for all the small taxpayers. A taxpayer registered under composition levy scheme has to pay an amount equal to a certain fixed percentage of his annual turnover as tax to the government. So now this is not product based or product tax rate based scheme, but this is for all small traders. Okay, once they are particular turnover, okay, if it doesn't exceed a particular turnover, then you'll have to just pay a particular percentage on the entire aggregate turnover. That is the meaning of composition levy, and now it is at the option of the seller or the taxpayer whether he wants to apply for composition scheme or not. So in simple term, this particular scheme is only available to a small taxpayer. Okay, it is a voluntary scheme and it is a scheme whereby a small percentage of tax will be charged on the total aggregate turnover.
सो इन सिंपल टर्म इसका मतलब है कि कॉम्पोजिशन लेवी एक ऐसा रूल है या स्कीम है जो सिर्फ स्मॉल टैक्स पेयर के लिए होता है, जहाँ पे वो एक पर्टिकुलर और एक सर्टेन परसेंटेज अपने टोटल टर्नओवर पे पे करते हैं टू द गवर्नमेंट। अब उसके रूल्स क्या है, टर्नओवर कितना होता है, लिमिट क्या है, वो हम सब जानेंगे आगे।
In order to understand what is this total annual turnover, we'll be first going through some rules and thereafter we'll see what does that turnover means. Okay, what is turnover, how to calculate that aggregate turnover. Okay, chalo. Now first let us see what are the some rules based on composition levy. Okay, now there is something called as a limit. Okay, we have aggregate turnover limit. Thus there are two rules. Number one, for all the special category states, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim, Tripura and Uttarakhand. Okay, so all the major northeast states which are available, they are considered as a special category state. So for them, there is a special rule for composition levy, and that is that the annual turnover, okay, the annual turnover, the limit is 75 lakhs during the financial year. 75 lakhs is the annual turnover limit for all the special category states. For rest of India, that is the other state other than the special category state, which includes Assam, Jammu and Kashmir and all other states, okay, other than all the special category state, the limit for annual aggregate turnover is 1.5 crore during the financial year. So these are the only two rules that you have to remember in order to solve any sum based on composition levy. If the person is from the special category state, then the limit is 75 lakh. That's like the threshold limit. And if you're from the other state, your limit is 1.5 crore. Only two rules to be remembered. One for special category, the other one for rest of India. 75 lakhs and 1.5 crores. That's number one, the limit and the rule that you have to remember. Second, now comes the most important part. What do you mean by aggregate turnover? When we say we have to, everything has been on aggregate turnover. So what is this aggregate turnover? Now, aggregate turnover, to remember in the most simplest manner. Okay, I've made this two things: what it includes and what it excludes. Okay, only have to keep that in mind. First, we will see what it includes. It includes all your taxable supplies. So anything which you are supplying which is taxed will come under aggregate turnover. Secondly, all the exempt supplies. Exempt meaning on which tax is not available. So it includes supplying goods which are of nil rate, zero tax rate, supply which are fully exempted, okay, or non-taxable supply. So basically anything that you're selling on which tax is not applicable, the moment you are selling, it is a supply, okay, it will be added to your turnover. Next, exports of goods and services. Again, you are exporting, meaning you are providing, okay, anything which you are providing, anything which you are selling, anything which you are supplying, all that gets added to your aggregate turnover. Also, all the interstate supplies. Okay, that from different states, if you're going to supply anything, again, all that things gets added to your aggregate turnover. What are the things that does not get added? Inward supply. Anything which you're purchasing under any reverse mechanism or reverse charge mechanism, all the taxes, that is GST, composition cess, CGST, SGST, UTGST, IGST, any kind of tax which is already included, you cannot include that in your turnover. So your turnover is basically, in simple term, anything which you're selling, anything which you're supplying, anything which you're providing. Anything you purchase or any other taxes cannot get added to your aggregate turnover. Okay, so two things have to remember. Number one, if you're from special category, 75 lakhs. If you're from other state, 1.5 crores. You have to add only anything which is your supplying, nothing to be added which is other than supplying. Okay, so these are the two major rules that you have to remember. Next, the tax rate. So now your composition levy has been divided in four categories. Number one, the category of registered person and rate have been given to us. So there are two columns. So first, manufacturers other than manufacturers of notified goods. So if you are a manufacturer of goods other than the notified goods, then you will be charged 1% of your aggregate turnover, which gets split up into half SGST and half will go to CGST or UTGST accordingly. Okay, so if you are a manufacturer, the rate which will be applicable will be 1%. Okay, other traders, again it is a 1%. If you have a restaurant and a service and outdoor catering service, so basically anything related to restaurant, you have 5%. And supplier of only services or mixed supplier, that is goods and services, if you are a supplier, then it will be 6%. So if you are a manufacturer of goods, 1%. If you are a trader, 1%. Restaurant, 5%. And other than that, if you are supplying any services, then 6%. Majorly, which is asked in your exam, is always the 1% part. Okay. Now, in the first point, when they said manufacturer other than manufacturer of notified goods, meaning if you are selling any of the notified goods, on this composition levy is not applicable. So now, what do you mean by notified goods? Okay, notified goods are goods on which composition levy is not applicable. For example, number one, ice cream and other edible ice, whether or not containing cocoa, pan masala, and tobacco and manufacturers of tobacco substitute. So these are the three things on which composition levy is not applicable. Other than that, any other goods which are there, you can apply or you can be eligible for composition levy. Okay, so these are the basic rules which had to be kept in mind for solving composition levy. Now let us see how to solve the sum, okay, all the university type sums based on composition levy. Now this is the very first question. We'll just read out the question once and then we'll try to figure out what the question is asking us to find and how to find those the solution to that question. Gayatri Limited, a trading concern in Maharashtra. This is very important, the state. Okay, now Maharashtra comes under other states, so the limit is 1.5 crore. If you are supplying, if your aggregate turnover is less than 1.5 crore, then you will be eligible to opt for the composition scheme. Okay, so now concern is in Maharashtra, a registered dealer and wants to opt for composition scheme. It furnishes you with the following information for the year 1819. Kindly advise, are they eligible to opt for the composition scheme? So number one, they were asking us whether they are eligible. Secondly, if yes, calculate the composition tax liability, that is SGST 0.5 and CGST 0.5%. If you look carefully, it is a trading. So the rule was for traders, it is always 1%. So they have already split and given us 0.5 for CGST, 0.5 for SGST. The breakup of supplies are as follows. So we have intrastate supply, again intrastate supply. We have three different supply to three different people. Value of inward supply, so there is one inward supply, and again lastly again we have an intrastate supply. So we have four supply and one inward supply. The rule was anything which you are supplying, okay, only that can get added to our aggregate turnover. Any inward supply, that is a purchase, cannot get added to our aggregate turnover. So now let us see how to solve this sum in four simple steps. Number one, we need to first calculate the aggregate turnover. So I'll write a number one, calculation of aggregate turnover. Very simple, we'll have particular and amount, we'll add up all the supply ka total and we'll check whether it is matching our threshold limit or not, okay. Two columns, particular and amount. The very first is intrastate supply of exempted goods. It doesn't matter whether the goods are taxable or not. Okay, if it is a supply, it will get added in your aggregate turnover. So yes, intrastate supply, since it is a supply 13 lakhs, we will consider that. Second, again intrastate supply of taxable goods of Mr. K. Again, you are supplying. Though it has some tax rate, it doesn't matter. That percentage doesn't matter at all. You just have to take the total of the supply. Okay, that is 9,50,000. We will consider that. Third, again intrastate supply, again you are supplying to Mr. A, some tax rate pay, doesn't matter, the moment you are supplying the value gets added, so that's 3,45,000. Okay, value of inward supply, no, that is purchase, so that cannot be considered in our aggregate turnover, so we are not noting it down. Next, intrastate supply, yes, to Mr. Q, again it is a supply, amount is 10 lakhs, we consider it. Okay, so there were four supplies mentioned here. Okay, so now the next step is very simple. We just need to add up and check. So 13 lakhs plus 9 lakh 50 plus 3 lakh 45,000 plus 10 lakh. The total comes to around 35 lakh 95,000. Now, from here, very interesting things. We need to note down all the rules now. The first rule was that since he is from Maharashtra, other state, the threshold limit is 1.5 crores. Now, the rule for composition levy was that if the person, okay, aggregate turnover is less than the threshold limit, he will be eligible for applying for the composition scheme. Since 35 lakh 95 is less than 1.5 crore, we can state that since Gayatri Limited aggregate turnover is rupees 35 lakh 95,000, which is less than the threshold limit of 1.5 crore, Gayatri Limited is eligible to opt for the composition scheme. So the first question, whether they were eligible, we have fulfilled that. We found that first answer. Okay, very simple. Just have to add, check the value, and apply into the rule. Now they ask us to calculate the the composition tax liability. So step number 3 will be calculation of composition tax liability. The rates are 0.5% and 0.5%. Percentage always on the total aggregate turnover. Again, two columns. We'll have particulars and amount. First, we need to find the CGST. So we'll write CGST at the rate of 0.5% of the total aggregate turnover, that is 35 lakh 95,000. So into 0.5%, the value that we should get is 17,975. Similarly for SGST, okay, same percentage, same amount, so the total also will be same. So the total composition tax liability for Gayatri Limited will be 35,950. They asked us to find two things. These were the two things that we have found. Lastly, in step number 4, we just mentioned things that we didn't consider or we didn't take. So we never took a value of inward supply, so we'll just mention step number 4 may the value of inward supply on which tax is payable on reverse charge mechanism. I just noted down this entire statement is not to be included.
तो याद रखो, सॉल्व करने के लिए प्रॉब्लम सम सिर्फ 4 स्टेप फॉलो करने हैं. नंबर 1, सबसे पहले एग्रीगेट टर्नओवर फाइंड करना. सेकंड, अगर वो लिमिट को मैच करता है तो उसका एक एक्सप्लेनेशन देना कि वो एलिजिबल है कि नहीं है. अगर है तो स्टेप नंबर 3, कॉम्पोजिशन टैक्स लाइबिलिटी फाइंड करना पड़ेगा बेस्ड ऑन द परसेंटेज जो मेंशन किया रहेगा. एंड स्टेप नंबर 4, जो चीज़ हम लोगों ने नहीं ली है उसके बारे में एक नोट.
This is it. With this, we were able to solve the very first sum based on composition levy. Very simple sum. Just need to follow this particular step. Okay. So I hope everyone have understood this. We are going to take up another sum, to finally clear all other doubts. Okay. So let us see now the second sum. Okay, again, we'll read out the question once. Speed limited a trading. Again, a trader, 1% in Maharashtra, again, other state, that is 1.5 crore ka limit, wants to opt for the composition scheme. It furnishes you the following detail. Are they eligible, and calculate the tax liability? Okay, again, they are giving you all the intrastate supply and invert supply ka details. And they are telling you all the amounts are exclusive of GST, but it doesn't include any GST. Okay, it shouldn't include also. If it includes, we'll have to remove it out. So again, we have to apply those four steps. Number one, we first calculate the aggregate turnover. Format will be particular amount. First is intrastate supply. Yes, it will appear, which is 10 lakhs. Again, intrastate supply of taxable goods. Again, 30 lakhs. We will note it down. Intrastate supply of taxable goods to Mr. Jaitley, 20 lakhs. Again, it is a supply. Yes. Intrastate supply of taxable goods to Gadkari, 20 lakhs. Again, we will, we'll add it. Value of invert supply. Invert is purchase, cannot get added to our turnover, so we will exclude it. Okay, so we have only these four things: 10 lakh, 30 lakh, 20 lakh, 20 lakh. When we add it, our total comes to 80 lakhs. Now let us check the rule. The rule was, if the supply is less than 1.5 crore, because this is other state, if the person's turnover is less than 1.5 crore, he will be eligible to apply for the scheme. Since it is 80 lakhs, the amount is less than 1.5 crores, so he will be eligible to apply for the scheme. Okay, so we will note down now, the answer will be, since speed limited aggregate turnover is rupees 80 lakhs, which is less than the threshold limit of 1.5 crores, speed limited is eligible to opt for the composition scheme. Very simple sum. Okay, the first part is done. Now we need to calculate the tax liability. Again, very simple. Calculation of composition tax liability will be 0.5% on the entire aggregate turnover. So again, particular rupees, it will be zero. We'll have to find CGST, that is 0.5% of 80 lakhs, which comes to 40,000. Again, SGST, again that will be 40,000. So the total tax liability of speed limited will be rupees 80,000. So we have calculated both. Are they eligible, and secondly the tax liability, and lastly we'll mention in step number 4 things that we haven't taken. So the value of invert supply on which tax is payable on reverse charge is not included. Okay, so with that, our second sum is also cleared. Okay, again a very simple, just need to follow these 4 steps and you will be able to solve any sum based on this particular topic at the university level. So I hope everyone are cleared with this particular chapter, that is composition levy under the subject GST. So with that, we will be ending this video here. Okay, stay tuned for many more videos in our video series based on GST. So with that, thank you.